Learning objectives. In this chapter, the user would learn the following in detail: information security, techniques and algorithms, protocols, trust, security models and frameworks. Why information security? Mobile computing with networked information systems increase the risks for sensitive information supporting critical functions in the organization which are open to attacks. All the computers in the world are interconnected through extranet, and in a majority of cases, mobile computing uses wireless networks. Wireless media works on the principle of broadcast. Information is radiated to everyone within the radio wave range, thus increasing security threats. Unlike a physical attack, cyber attacks can be replicated quite easily. Therefore, unless special care is taken, all systems are open to attack. In a mobile environment, the user roams through different networks with heterogeneous security infrastructure. In such an environment, where device mobility and network mobility is a necessity, offering homogeneous service over heterogeneous devices and networks is the key. Weak security link from a wireless network could become a point of vulnerability for the entire system. Therefore, in a mobile computing environment, it is necessary to have a robust security and trust infrastructure. Attacks. A security system is a system to defend our assets from attacks. In the electronic world, attacks are carried out at the point of vulnerability. Where the vulnerability is exploited, there is a loss. This loss can be either of static information asset, static asset, or an information asset in transit, dynamic asset. Static assets cover a large portion of the asset base, the databases, files, documents, etc. in the computers fall in this category. Static asset example: virus deleting files in a computer or jamming a network. Dynamic asset example: theft of a credit card number while a user is doing a credit card transaction on the web. Dynamic assets types: interception. An unauthorized party gaining access to an asset will be part of this attack. This is an attack on confidentiality, like unauthorized copying of files or tapping a conversation between parties. Some of the sniffing attacks fall in this category. Modification. An unauthorized party gaining control of an asset and tampering with it is part of this attack. This is an attack on integrity, like changing the content of a message being transmitted through the network. Different types of man-in-the-middle attacks are part of this type of attack. Fabrication. An unauthorized party inserts counterfeited objects into the system. For example, impersonating someone and inserting a spurious message in a network. Interruption. An asset is destroyed or made unusable. This is an attack on availability. This attack can be on a static asset or a dynamic asset. An example could be cutting a communication line or making the router so busy that a user cannot use a server in a network. These are all denial of service attacks. Static asset types. Virus and worms. Type of program that replicates and propagates from one system to another. Most of the virus do malicious destructive functions in the system. Denial of service. These are attacks on the system to prevent legitimate users from using the service. Intrusion. These are people or software which enter into computer systems and perform function without the knowledge of the owner of the asset. These are also called hackers. Replay attack. In a replay attack, the opponent passively captures the data without trying to analyze the content. At a later time, the same is used in the same sequence to impersonate an event and gain unauthorized access to resource. Buffer overflow attacks. In a buffer overflow attack, the vulnerability of an executable program is exploited to force a stack overflow condition, inducing the program counter of the process to change. The program counter is then manipulated to do the work for the attacker. Trapdoor attacks. These are exploitations of some undocumented features of a system. Undocumented functionality are designed to debug, service, support, or take control of the system. Components of information security. Information security needs to cater to all possible attacks related to confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-repudiation, authorization, trust, accounting. Confidentiality. Property where the information is kept secret so that unauthorized persons cannot get the information. Confidentiality is ensured through encryption of the data. Plain text or clear text messages, written text or audio or video message or data file in the computer disk. Encryption or encipher, disguising message in such a fashion that it is no longer understandable by either a person or a machine. Ciphertext, an encrypted message. Decryption or deciphering, process of converting a ciphertext back into plain text. Figure shows encryption or decryption with a key. In cryptography, there are two components, algorithms and protocols. Cryptographic algorithm, mathematical function used for encryption and decryption. Protocol relates to the process and procedure of using algorithms. A protocol is the way algorithms are used to ensure that the security is ensured and the system is less prone to attack. In a security system, the plain text message is encrypted by using a key KEYE. Encrypted message is then sent from the sender to the received through a media, wired, wireless, or even postal using some protocol. Encrypted message is then decrypted using a key KEYD to extract the original message. A cryptographic key is generally a large number. Key space, the range of possible values of a key. The larger the key space is, the more difficult it is for an attacker to guess the key and restore the original message. Therefore, a larger key space makes a ciphertext more secure. Cryptography, art of keeping message secure using the signs of encryption and decryption. People who practice cryptography are called cryptographers. Cryptanalysts, people who try to break the secrecy of the cryptography. Cryptanalysis, practice of cryptanalyst. Steganography, science of hiding secret message in other messages so that the existence of the secret message is concealed. For example, sending some secret message by changing some bits in a large picture message. By looking at the picture, others will not be able to guess that in reality the picture is carrying a secret message. Integrity. Property of keeping the information intact, achieved by adding additional information into the message. This is done through checksums, message digest, or digital signature. In a crypto system, the receiver of the message checks this extra information to verify whether the message has been tampered with. Integrity check is advised for both static asset and asset on transit. Example, a bank check, a check issued to a customer, is honored only when the customer signs it. The check number and the signature are verified to ensure integrity. Authorization. Property by which the user's properties can be associated to the information access. Authorization deals with privileges. In any transaction, there is a subject, a person, and an object, data, items, or file. The subject wants some function to be performed on the object. Privilege to an object is defined through ACL or access control list. The privilege on an object can be read, write, or execute. Besides object, there need to be privilege-based type of subjects. This is done through authorization. Authorization is implemented through policy-based resource accessibility. Role-based security will be used when an application requires multiple layers of authorization and approvals to complete an action. Privilege management infrastructure, together with the role-based authorization, allows the administration and enforcement of user privileges and transaction entitlements. In the authorization process, users are checked to see if they have the required rights to access the resource. If they have been granted the required rights, they can access the resource, otherwise they are denied access. Non-repudiation. Property by which the identity of both sender and receiver of the message can be identified and verified. Authentication and non-repudiation have some overlapping properties. Authentication is a process in which we validate the identity of the parties involved in a transaction. In non-repudiation, we identify the identity of these parties beyond any point of doubt. Authentication with formal record. These records will have legal bindings. Like a signature in a check, using digital signatures, we achieve non-repudiation. Availability. Property of a system by which the system will be available to its legitimate users. Media management is part of a larger security framework. It is needed to ensure availability of service. For a message, a confidentiality may be maintained. Also, the integrity is intact, but an attacker can manipulate the media to make sure that the message does not reach the destination. Trust. Property of expectation, confidence, and belief over time. Computers rely on user authentication and access control to provide security. Within a network, it may be safe to assume that the key holder is authentic and the key holder is using the key assigned. However, these strategies are inadequate for mobile computing environments with high level of flexibility. Mobile computing lacks centralized control and its users are not all predetermined. Mobile users expect to access resources and services anywhere and anytime, which leads to serious security risks and access control problems. To handle such dynamic, ever-changing context, trust-based security management is necessary. Trust involves developing a security policy, assigning credentials to entities, verifying that the credentials fulfill the policy. Delegation of trust to third parties and reasoning about users' access rights is also needed. Accounting. Property of calculating the fee for a service rendered. For any service, the service provider needs to be paid. Accounting and billing is a very critical aspect in mobile computing environment. Accounting is the process by which the usage of the service is metered. Based upon the usage, the service provider collects the fee either directly from the customer or through the home network. Radius Remote Authentication Dial-in User Service Protocol RFC 2865 has been in use for a long time for the AAA authentication, authorization and accounting functions in Internet. A new protocol called Diameter RFC 3588 has been released to address the AAA needs for data roaming and mobile computing. Diameter can work in both local and roaming AAA situations. Security protocols. Different algorithms are used to provide confidentiality, integrity, etc. Protocols use these algorithms so that vulnerabilities are eliminated and security is ensured. A protocol needs to be robust and need to ensure that if the masquerader is able to modify the message, it can be detected. There are many protocols for secure communication. The most popular protocol is SSL, Secured Socket Layer. The Internet standards for TLS, Transport Layer Security, and WTLS, Wireless Transport Layer Security, have been derived from the SSL protocol. Secured Socket Layer (SSL). The Secured Socket Layer or SSL protocol is used to provide security of data over public networks like Internet. It runs above the TCP/IP protocol layer and below higher level protocols such as HTTP or IMAP. Allows both machines, server and the client to establish a secured encrypted channel so that all the data transacted between them are confidential and tamper-resistant. Public key encryption provides better authentication techniques. Symmetric key encryption is much faster than the public key encryption. SSL protocol uses a combination of both public key and symmetric key encryption. An SSL session begins with SSL handshake. SSL handshake allows the server to authenticate itself to the client using public key techniques. Handshake also allows the client to authenticate itself to the server. It then allows the client and the server to cooperate in the creation of symmetric key. It then uses the shared key for payload encryption, decryption, and tamper detection during the session that follows. Transport Layer Security (TLS). a security protocol to offer secure communication at the transport layer. TLS protocol is the Internet standard and based on the SSL 3.0 protocol specification. Provides privacy and data integrity between two communicating applications. At the lower levels, TLS uses TCP transport protocol. The TLS protocol is composed of two layers: TLS handshake protocol, TLS record protocol. TLS handshake protocol. It provides connection security that has three basic properties. Peer's identity can be authenticated using asymmetric or public key cryptography, example Diffie-Hellman, RSA, etc. The negotiation is reliable. No attacker can modify the negotiation communication without being detected by the parties in the communication. The negotiation of a shared secret is secured. The negotiated secret is unavailable to anybody eavesdropping in the middle of the connection. TLS record protocol. It provides connection security that has two basic properties. Privacy. The confidentiality of the data is maintained through encryption. Symmetric cryptography is used for data encryption, example AES, DES, RC4, etc. Key for symmetric encryption are generated uniquely for each connection. These encryption algorithms are negotiated by the TLS handshake protocol. Integrity. The connection is reliable. Message transport includes a message integrity check using a keyed MAC. Secure hash functions, example SHA, MD5, etc. are used for MAC computations. WTLS. The Transport Layer Security Protocol in the WAP architecture is called the Wireless Transport Layer Security, or WTLS in short. Provides functionality similar to TLS 1.0 and incorporates new features such as datagram support, optimized handshake, and dynamic key refreshing. WTLS layer operates above the transport protocol layer similar to TLS. WTLS provides the upper level layer of WAP with a secure transport service interface that preserves the transport service interface below it. In addition, WTLS provides an interface for creating and terminating secure connections. Provides privacy, data integrity, and authentication between two communicating applications. Optimized for low bandwidth bearer networks with relatively long latency. Multi-factor security. One method of increasing security is splitting the key and distributing it. For example, in a bank, a locker cannot be opened with one key. It requires multiple keys. One key belongs to the customer, the other key is with the bank employee. This technique is called multi-factor security. These factors are generally a combination of what you have, what you know, and what you are. Multi-factor security can be a combination of any of the following factors. In a two-factor security, any two of the factors are used. In a three-factor security, one each from the factors are used. Factors: what you have. Magnetic strip card, private key protected by password, smart card, hardware token, RF badge, physical key. What you know. Password, passphrase, PIN, personal identification number, answer to some personal questions, sequence of numbers, predetermined events. Who you are, fingerprint, voice recognition, retinal scan, hand geometry, visual recognition, face picture in passport, other biometric identities. Digital watermark. Watermarks are being used for a long time as a security measure. If we take a 100 rupee currency note of Reserve Bank of India and hold it in front of a light source, we can see Gandhi's face on the white circle. This is called the watermark in the currency note. If we photocopy a currency note using a color photocopier, we will not be able to copy the watermark. The term digital watermark refers to a pattern of information inserted in a file. The purpose of digital watermark is to provide copyright protection for intellectual property that is in digital format. Unlike printed watermarks, which are intended to be visible, digital watermarks are designed to be completely invisible. In the case of audio clips, the watermarks are inaudible. The information representing the watermark is scattered throughout the file in such a way that it cannot be identified, manipulated, or reproduced. Key recovery. Unavailability, loss, or corruption of the keys may prevent legitimate parties from accessing the data. To facilitate authorized access to encrypted data in the face of such situations, key recovery procedures and standards are needed. This type of system is called Key Recovery System (KRS). KRS will enable authorized persons to recover plain text from encrypted data when the decryption key is not otherwise available. Key recovery is achieved through different key recovery techniques and key recovery information (KRI). Key recovery information refers to the aggregate of information needed by a key recovery technique to recover a target key. In third-party systems like a certification authority (CA), the KRI is securely stored with the CA. Security models. Algorithms and protocols are used to protect assets. These assets can be either static assets in the form of priceless data in a database, files or documents within a computer, or assets in transit. The security and trust models are used to secure assets. Infrastructure level security. Infrastructure level security offers security at the perimeter of the system, also called as network security. Includes protecting the infrastructure or the network so that attacks from worms, viruses, and Trojan horses can be prevented. Prevention from other forms of attacks like intrusion, etc., and different firewalls in the network are all part of infrastructure level security. Virtual Private Network (VPN) is a part of infrastructure security as well. Infrastructure level security for a mobile computing environment needs to handle some additional threats compared to a wired network. Some vulnerabilities have been identified in infrastructure security for Wi-Fi. Therefore, new security protocols like 802.1x and 802.11i have been proposed to take care of the over-the-air interface in the access network. System-level security. In system-level security, systems are secured to protect assets. In the security framework provided by the operating system, shells will be part of system-level security. In authentication challenges during Unix login or login into a mainframe computer through a username, password is the system level security. Access control list (ACL), file system security, memory security, etc. will also be part of the system level security. It protects the system from worms, viruses, and Trojan horses. Prevention from other forms of attacks like buffer overflow attacks, intrusions, etc. can also be part of system level security, as also security protocols like SSL and TLS. There is a concept of a capability-based system where security is policy-driven and managed through capability. Even if a virus enters into such a system or an intrusion happens, it will not be able to damage any asset in the system. Database security is part of system-level security. In database security, data in the database is secured by the database software. This can be encrypting a column in a row or some special check based on ACL and capability. Policy-based security. Policy is a set of written down rules about what is allowed or what is not allowed in the network. Policies are usually area-specific, covering a single area. According to the RFC 2196, security policy is defined as a security policy is a formal statement of the rules by which people who are given access to an organization's technology and information assets must abide. A standard is typically a collection of system-specific requirements that must be met by everyone. Standards are necessary when we need interoperability. A guideline is typically collections of system-specific procedural specific suggestions for best practice. Guidelines are not requirements to be met but are strongly recommended. In case of mobile computing, where nodes are roaming from one network to another, it may not be practical to define a security policy and implement it. Therefore, above policy-based security for mobile nodes, we need object security. In object security, objects will carry their security signatures and capabilities. This is achieved through the concept of principal. When a device moves from network to network, the device carries the security requirement and security signature with it. Application level security. In a mobile computing environment, we need security at the application level. Application security looks at the security at the content level. This can also be termed as peer-to-peer security. The application at the client device will connect to the application at the server and handle security requirements end-to-end as the content may demand. The security needs to be addressed at the content level using context awareness J2ME, .NET, WIM or MEXE, Mobile Execution Environment. Using cryptographic libraries, we can build security at the application level. This security will be custom built and can use standard algorithms or new algorithms as agreed by the peer nodes. System infrastructure level security will be over and above the application level security. Java security. Security model provided by Java covers both system level and application level security. Java system level security is provided through the sandbox model. Sandbox provides a restricted environment for code execution through Java Virtual Machine. In the sandbox model, local code is trusted to have full access to system resources like file system, memory, etc. Java supports digitally signed trusted applet. A digitally signed applet is treated like local code with full access to resources. Digitally signed applets use public key infrastructure. Prior to transmission, the applet server signs an applet JAR file using its digital certificate. Upon receipt, the client-side Java Security Manager verifies the signature and decides whether the origin and integrity of the application is trusted. Once the authentication is successful, the application code is delivered to the client for execution. Java tools to facilitate various security-related operations. Key tool. This is a command line tool used to manage key store, which includes the following functions: create public-private key pairs, issue certificate requests which will be sent to the appropriate certification authority, import certificate replies obtained from the certification authority, designate public keys belonging to other parties as trusted keys, and certificates are used to digitally sign applications and applets. A key store is a protected database that holds keys and certificates for an enterprise. Access to a key store is guarded by a password. In addition, each private key in a key store can be guarded by its own password. JAR. This is a command line tool to create JAR, Java Archive files. The JAR file format enables users to bundle multiple files into a single archive file. JAR file will contain the class files and auxiliary resources associated with applets and applications. After importing appropriate keys into the key store, the JAR Signer tool is used to digitally sign the JAR file. JAR Signer. This is a command line tool to sign JAR files. This is also used to verify signature on signed JAR files. The JAR Signer tool accesses a key store that is created and managed by Key tool when it needs to find the private key and its associated certificate chain. The JAR Signer tool prompts for needed passwords. Policy tool. Unlike the other tools, this tool has a graphical use interface. Policy tool is used to create and modify the external policy configuration files that define the installation's security policy. Java Cryptography Architecture JCA. As a part of application-level security, Java Framework supports cryptographic library through Java Cryptography Architecture JCA. JCA refers to a framework for accessing and developing cryptographic functionality for the Java platform. These cryptographic services are symmetric key encryption algorithms, public key encryption algorithms, digital signature algorithms, message digest algorithms, message authentication code generation, key generation algorithms, key exchange algorithms, key store creation and management, algorithm parameter management, algorithm parameter generation, key factory support to convert between different key representations, certificate factory support to generate certificates and certificate revocation lists CRLs from their encodings, random number generation (RNG) algorithm, support of SSL and TLS through HTTP support. Security frameworks for mobile environment. Mobile applications usually span over several networks like wireless radio network and wired networks. At the boundary of any of these networks, there is a need for protocol conversion gateways. These gateways run either at the transport layer or at the application layers. When the user is roaming in foreign networks, there will be multiple wired networks, PLMNs, managed and controlled by different network operators. Multiple gateways and multiple networks make security challenges in mobile environments complex. In a security system, authentication and non-repudiation are implemented end-to-end between parties that need to authenticate each other. Authorization is a direct function of authentication. Authentication, authorization, and non-repudiation must therefore be implemented at the application layer. Confidentiality and integrity, on the other hand, can be implemented at any layer or through multiple layers. To offer secure environment in a mobile environment, security procedures will be a combination of many procedures and functions. Vulnerabilities and techniques to offer security in a mobile environment. 3GPP security. Security procedures for wireless wide area networks (GSM), GPRS, CDMA are designed for the operators to protect from fraud and network misuse. None of these procedures address the security concerns of user information or the application. Current security procedures in all these wide area wireless networks fail to provide a trusted environment where mobile users felt confident enough to place sensitive information over networks. In order to perform an attack in a wireless wide area network, the adversary has to possess one or more of the following capabilities. Eavesdropping. This is the capability through which the adversary eavesdrops signaling and data traffic associated with the user. Equipment required for such attack is a modified mobile station or a radio receiver. Impersonation of a user. This is the capability whereby the adversary sends signaling and user data to the network in an attempt to make the network believe that they originate from a genuine target of the impersonation user. Equipment required for such attack is a modified mobile station or a radio transmitter or receiver. 3GPP security. Compromising authentication vectors in the network. The adversary possesses a compromised authentication vector which may include challenge, response pairs, cipher keys, and integrity keys. This data may have been obtained by compromising network nodes or by intercepting signaling messages on network links and then through brute force attack. Impersonation of the network. This is the capability whereby the adversary sends signaling and user data to the target user in an attempt to make the target user believe that the data originate from a genuine network. Equipment required for such attack is a modified base station or a radio transmitter or receiver. Man in the middle. This is the capability whereby the adversary puts itself in between the target user and a genuine network and has the ability to eavesdrop, modify, delete, reorder, replay, and spoof signaling and user data messages exchanged between the sender and the receiver. The required equipments in such attack are modified base station, in conjunction with a modified mobile station. 3GPP looked into these concerns and came up with changes in the security architecture of the current wireless wide area networks. 3GPP proposed a new architecture following important changes. Changes were made to defeat the false base station attack. The extended security mechanism is now capable of identifying the network. Key lengths are increased to allow stronger algorithms for encryption and integrity. Mechanisms are included to support security within and between networks. Security is based within the switch rather than the base station to ensure that links are protected between the base station and switch. The authentication algorithm has not been defined, but guidance on choice will be given. Integrity mechanisms for the terminal identity (IMEI) have been included. Figure shows 3GPP security architecture. Mobile Virtual Private Network. Virtual Private Network (VPN) provides an end-to-end security infrastructure. This deals with authentication, non-repudiation, integration, and confidentiality at a layer between the transport and the application layer. Mobile VPN is a private network over a public network, usually the Internet, to connect two endpoints. Instead of using a dedicated physical connection such as leased line, a VPN uses virtual connections routed through the Internet from the enterprise's private network to the remote mobile device. VPN implements this through an encrypted private connection between nodes. It uses IPsec and other PKI frameworks to offer confidentiality, authentication, non-repudiation through digital signature, and integrity. With mobile VPN, mobile workers have the freedom to safely use wireless applications on their PDAs, smartphones, and other handheld devices in the field as if they are in a private network. Multi-factor security. In mobile network, multi-factor security can be extended to multiple networks. The security key, session key, in a GPRS network can be split into multiple parts and sent through Internet, TCP/IP, and AMS network. SMS uses SS-7 network for its traffic. SS-7 network is closed and protected. SS-7 is physically more secured than the IP network. Smart card security. Smart cards offer data encryption and the ability to store secret information for the purpose of authenticating the card holder. There are various types of smart cards used in different application scenarios. Example: SIM card on a mobile phone. SIM cards used in mobile phones are processor cards. Processor cards are smart cards with an inbuilt processor and memory. This local processor protects the content in the SIM and makes it tamper-resistant. ETSI standard 03.48 specifies procedures for SIM card to be used as a security engine. The 03.48 standard specifies the interoperability standards for cryptographic functions. Also, many of the SIM cards have RSA, DES, 3DES, AES algorithms implemented within the card. There are different file systems within a SIM card. These files have very stringent security controls. Files can be protected through passwords known to the user or operator. Private key and many other secret keys can be stored in these files. As these files are protected, through password. Even if the card is lost, the information is protected. To counter brute force attack, a smart card processor does not allow more than 10 attempts to read a file data with wrong password. Therefore, a user can make use of the card as a security factory. Using this security factory is quite easy through Java card interfaces. In Java card technology, a Java interface is provided on the SIM card. Java Cryptographic Architecture (JCA) and Java programs running on the smart card can make these things easy. Mutual and spatial authentication. A SIM card can be used as a security factory. The SIM card can store secured information like private keys, wireless identity module, and many other private secured information. It also has various algorithms implemented. This can facilitate mutual authentication. In SSL or TLS, over Internet client authentication is generally not done. However, using a SIM card, we can carry out client authentication over wireless wide area networks. This is called mutual authentication because using GSM 03.08 procedures, a client can authenticate the server. Also, the server can authenticate the client. SIM cards in a GSM GPRS network store location information. This includes country network and base station information. This information can be obtained and sent from the mobile phone using GSM 03.48 standard specification. Location information can then be used to implement spatial authentication. For example, if the user is in a neighborhood which is insecure, access to some critical applications can be prevented. RFID security. Application areas for RFID is increasing. However, it has certain vulnerabilities. For example, using the RF dump tool, an adversary can detect an RFID tag and extract its meta information like tag ID, tag type, manufacturer, etc. It can even be used to rewrite the data stored in some RFID tags using either a HEX or an ASCII editor. All these vulnerabilities pose a serious threat toward RFID-based systems, starting from merchandise in a store to the e-passports. Example: e-passports. According to the specification of e-passport, there will be 64-bit RFID tags attached in the passport that will contain name, date of birth, place of birth, a digital photograph, and a digital face recognition template of the passport holder. This RFID is supposed to work only in a very close proximity. A RFID reader placed beyond the distance of more than 10 centimeters should not be able to read the content of the e-passport. However, in reality, it was found that the radio tag's readable distance is as large as 30 feet. This makes the security information in the e-passport available over radio for an adversary to access. Mobile agent security. Mobile agents are processes that can autonomously migrate from one networked computer to another. Mobile agents can be useful for many applications, especially for those in Internet. Mobile agent technology results in significant security threats from both malicious agents and malicious hosts. For example, as the mobile agent traverses multiple hosts that are trusted to different degrees, its state may be changed in a way that can adversely impact the decision-making process of the agent. Mobile virus. Viruses are common in the PC and desktop environment. However, they were not common in a mobile environment. As the mobile device becomes more intelligent with more flexibility and higher capabilities, viruses are surfacing. Some are already out in the open. In June 2004, as a proof concept, a virus called Kabir was developed to exploit Bluetooth vulnerability. In early November 2004, a mobile virus called Skull.A was reported for some models of Nokia phones. A new version named Skull.B emerged, which combines Skull.A and Kabir. One more virus identified as ComWarrior.A surfaced in March 2005. This virus uses a combination of Bluetooth and MMS multimedia messaging service to propagate. The principles these viruses use are similar in concept as the desktop viruses do. Mobile worm. A worm needs to propagate, execute, and reproduce in an automated fashion. To reproduce and then propagate, the worm needs to execute a piece of code designed by the worm writer on the target system. Therefore, it is necessary to have an execution environment available to the worm code on the target mobile device. On a mobile equipment today, we have various execution environments like WAP, WML script, MEXE, class mark 1, Java phone, personal Java, MEXE, class mark 2, J2ME, MEXE, class mark 3, Symbian, Windows CE, Palm OS, Linux. These can access both the TCP/IP and SMS interfaces. Therefore, worms can replicate and propagate through both TCP/IP and SMS interfaces of Java phone, personal Java, or J2ME framework. Along with Java phone technology on the mobile equipment, Java card facility is also available on the SIM cards. Using all these technologies, it will be possible to develop viruses, worms, and Trojan horses for mobile phones. These viruses and worms will be able to replicate, access the address book, and use the network facility and propagate. Techniques and algorithms. Encryption algorithms are divided into two main groups. Symmetric key encryption. Key used for decryption is the same as the key for encryption. Algorithm used for encryption and decryption can also be the same. Public key encryption. Key used for decryption is different from the key used for encryption. Stream ciphering and block ciphering. Stream cipher. Bit or a byte is taken at a time and encrypted. The algorithm looks at the input plain text as a stream of bits and encrypts them one bit or byte at a time as the stream progresses. In this technique, length of the plain text and the key size will be the same. Wireless LAN Wi-Fi uses stream cipher. Key has to be unique for every encryption. If the same key is used for multiple packets and these packets can be captured, there is vulnerability. Block cipher. One block of plain text is taken as a whole and used to produce a ciphertext block of equal length. Typically, a block of 64 bits 8 octets or 128 bits 16 octets is used for block cipher. Majority of crypto systems use block cipher. Symmetric key cryptography. Same key is used for both encryption and decryption. Symmetric key algorithms are called conventional or classical algorithms, as in cryptography, symmetric key algorithms are in use for centuries. Key is secret and known only to the encrypting sender and decrypting receiver parties. Also known as a secret key algorithm or as shared key cryptography. Same key is shared between sender and the receiver of the message. Unique key chosen for use in a particular transaction makes the results of encryption unique. Selection of a different key causes the cipher that is produced for any given set of inputs to be different. The cryptographic security of the data depends on the security of the algorithm used and the key used to encipher the data. The strength of the security depends on the size of the key. Symmetric key algorithms are much faster compared to their asymmetric public key counterparts. There are 4 components: plain text, encryption or decryption algorithm, secret key, key for encryption and decryption, and the ciphertext. Symmetric key algorithms. Data Encryption Standard (DES). Data Encryption Standard is the most widely used, researched, and has had the longest life so far. A DES key consists of 64 bits, of which 56 bits are randomly generated and used directly by the algorithm. The other 8 bits are used for error detection and not for encryption. DES employs the principle of scrambling and substitution. These processes are repeated a number of times with keys to ensure that the plain text is completely transformed into a thoroughly scrambled bit stream. Functions of DES. Permutations of bits in a block. This is the first and last step in DES. 64-bit plain text block is rearranged through initial permutation IP, done through a 64-bit register where the bits of the input block are scrambled in a particular fashion. As the last step, the reverse permutation is done through IP1. A key-dependent computation. This includes multiple rounds, iteration of transformation through combination of permutation and substitution. This is in the core of the encryption function. Swapping of half blocks of data in each round. Key schedule. Breaks this 56-bit key into two 28-bit subkeys and use them to compute the bits in data blocks. In each iteration, the bits within the subkey are shifted to generate a new subkey. The key-dependent computation is run through 16 rounds. Each round uses the data from the previous round as input. 3DES, triple DES. This is a modification of DES. With the increase of processing power available in PCs, 56 bits of key became vulnerable for attack. 3DES was proposed to protect the investment and increase security. 3DES uses the same DES algorithm 3 times in succession with different keys. This increases the key size, resulting in higher security. There are 2 different types of 3DES. One uses 256-bit key and the other uses 356-bit key. By using 356-bit key, the effective security can be increased to the key size to 168 bits. Most widely used algorithm for symmetric cryptography. Advanced Encryption Standard AES. Current accepted standard for encryption by FIPS, Federal Information Processing Standards of the US. Equal or better security compared to 3DES and more efficient than the 3DES. Symmetric cipher with block size of 128 bits. Supports keys of size 128 bits, 192 bits and 256 bits. Like DES, AES also uses permutation and substitution. AES does not use Feastel structure. In a Feastel structure, one half of the data block is used to modify the other half of the data and then swapped. Riggindell is a AES algorithm with the following characteristics. Resistance against all known attacks. Design simplicity. Speed and code compactness on a wide range of platforms. Skipjack Fortizza. This is a token-based symmetric algorithm used by defense personnel in the US. Public key cryptography. In public key cryptography, we use 2 different keys, one key for encryption and another for decryption. Also called asymmetric key cryptography. Public key cryptosystem is based on mathematical functions rather than permutation and substitution. The encryption key and the decryption key together form a key pair. One of these keys from the key pair is made public and the other one kept private or secret. That is why this algorithm is called public key cryptosystem. Solves 2 difficult problems of key distribution and digital signature in cryptography. Public key cryptography. Components in public key cryptography. Plain text. This is the human-readable message or data given to the public key algorithm as input for encryption. Ciphertext. This is the scrambled data produced as output of the encryption algorithm. This is a unique data and depends only on the unique key used for encryption. Encryption algorithm. This is the algorithm that does computation and various transformations on the input plain text. The output of the transformation is too garbled to be decipherable for an intruder. Decryption algorithm. This algorithm does the reverse function of the encryption algorithm. This function accepts the ciphertext as input and does some transformation on the data so that the original data is recovered. Public key. This is one of the keys from the key pair. This key is made public for anybody to access. This key can be used either for encryption or decryption. Private key. This is the other key from the key pair. This key is called the private key because this is kept secret. This can be used either for encryption or decryption. Key exchange algorithm. Whitefield Diffie and Martin Hellman first introduced the notion of public key cryptography in 1976. In the Diffie-Hellman technique, secret keys are never exchanged. However, the technique allows two parties to arrive at a secret key through the usage of public keys. Communicating parties select a pair of private and public keys. Public keys are exchanged. The shared secret key is generated from the private key and the public key of the other party. Let us assume that there are two parties, A and B. A and B chose some prime number P and another number G less than P. These numbers are selected and made available to both A and B in advance. Steps followed in Diffie-Hellman algorithms for key generation. Let these P and G be P is equal to 13 and G is equal to 3. A chooses a random number SA. This number is kept secret as a private key with A. Let this number be 5. B chooses a random number SB. This number is kept secret as a private key with B. Let this number be 7. A takes G and raises it with a secret key SA modulo P. This will be TA is equal to G and SA mod P is equal to greater than 3 and 5 mod 13 is equal to 243 mod 13 is equal to 9. This number 9 is A's public key. A already has chosen 5 as his private key. B takes G and raises it with a secret key SB modulo P. This will be TB is equal to G and SB mod P is equal to greater than 3 and 7 mod 13 is equal to 2187 mod 13 is equal to 3. This number 3 is B's public key. B has already chosen 7 as his private key. Public keys of A and B are exchanged. This means A sends the public key 9 to B and B sends his public key 3 to A over a public channel like internet. A takes B's public key and raises it with his own private key mod P. Therefore, we now have KA is equal to TB and SA mod P is equal to or greater than 3 and 5 mod 13 is equal to 243 mod 13 is equal to 9. B now takes A's public key and raises it with his own private key mod P in a similar fashion as A. The result will be KB is equal to TA and SB mod P is equal to or greater than 9 and 7 mod 13 is equal to 4782969 mod 13 is equal to 9. The value of TA and SB mod P is equal to TB and SA mod P is equal to 9. Though KA and KB have been calculated by A and B independently, it will always be equal. Therefore, these keys KA and KB can now be used by A and B as the shared key for payload encryption. RSA. RSA is named after its inventors R.L. Rivest, A. Shamir and L. Adleman. It is a public key algorithm that does encryption or decryption, authentication and digital signature. The key length is variable and the most commonly used key size is 512 bits. The key length used in India by CCA, Controller of Certifying Authorities, is 2048 bits. Key length can be large for higher security. The key length can be smaller for better efficiency. The plain text data block is always smaller than the key length. Ciphertext block is the same as the key length. RSA is much slower than symmetric key encryption. Generally not used for payload encryption. RSA is used primarily for encrypting a secret key for key exchange. RSA. The RSA algorithm works as follows. Choose two prime numbers P and Q. Multiply P and Q to generate N. N will be used as the modulus. Calculate F N is equal to P minus 1 Q minus 1 Fn is the Euler's totient function. Fp is the number of positive integers less than p and relatively prime to p. Choose a number e such that it is relatively prime to Fn. Find d such that it is multiplicative inverse of e semicolon d is equal to e minus 1 mod Fn. E, n is the public key and d, n is the private key. To encrypt, we use the formula ciphertext block is equal to plain text block E mod n. To decrypt, we use the formula plain text block is equal to ciphertext block D mod n. Elliptic curve. A majority of the products and standards that use the public key cryptography use RSA for encryption, authentication, and digital signature. There are sub-exponential algorithms available today for breaking RSA and Diffie-Hellman algorithms. To overcome these threats, the size of the RSA key has been increasing over time. Elliptic curve cryptography (ECC) has shown a lot of promise for high security with lesser resource. An elliptic curve is the set of solutions x, y to an equation of the form y2 is equal to x3 plus ax plus b, together with an extra point O, which is called the point at infinity. ECC is believed to offer a similar level of security with a much smaller size of key. For example, it is claimed that the level of security that 1024 bits of RSA provide can be achieved by 160 bits of ECC. A 210-bit key of ECC is equivalent to 2048 bits of RSA. This makes ECC very attractive for small footprint devices like cell phones or PDAs. Hashing algorithms. Hashing functions are one-way functions used for message digest. Hash function takes an input data of any size and produces an output stream of some fixed size. The outputs are collision-free. This means that two different inputs will not produce the same output. It is also not possible to derive the input from a known output. This means that if we have a message digest, it is impossible to derive the original message. The most commonly used hash functions are MD5, SHA1. MD5. MD5 Message Digest version 5 hashing algorithm is described in RFC 1321. It is an extension of the MD4 message digest algorithm and is slightly slower than MD4. Takes a message of arbitrary length as input and produces a 128-bit message digest as output. The algorithm processes 512 bits of the input message in blocks. The digest produced by the algorithm can also be considered as a fingerprint of the message. It is conjectured that it is computationally infeasible to produce two messages having the same message digest. It is also conjectured that it is computationally infeasible to produce any message having a given message digest. MD5 algorithm is intended for digital signature applications in a public key crypto system. SHA processes input in 512 bits block and produces 160 bits of output. Like MD5, SHA-1 is also based on MD4 algorithm. As both MD5 and SHA-1 are based on MD4, they are quite similar. However, as SHA-1 generates a longer digest of 160 bits compared to 128 bits by MD5, it is considered to be more secure. MAC stands for Message Authentication Code. MAC is used to do the integrity check on the message. A secret key is used to generate a small fixed-size data block from the message. This is similar to a checksum of the message. Both the sender and the receiver share the same secret key for MAC. When the sender has a message to be sent to the receiver, the message is sent along with the MAC. The receiver receives the message and calculates the MAC from the message and the shared key. The receiver checks the MAC received from the sender. If they are the same, the message is considered to be in perfect state. HMAC is another mechanism for message authentication using cryptographic hash functions like MD5 or SHA-1 in combination with a secret shared key. HMAC has been defined in RFC 2104. The cryptographic strength of HMAC depends on the properties of the underlying hash function. Block cipher modes of operation. Cipher block chaining (CBC) mode is used along with a ciphering algorithm to make the cipher text appear at random. In the CBC mode, each block of plain text is XORed with the ciphertext block before being encrypted. This technique ensures that the same plain text will generate a different ciphertext. To make each message unique, an initialization vector is used in the first block. The reverse technique is used to get the plain text back on the receiving end. Figure shows cipher block chaining (CBC). Trust. Trust is explained in terms of a relationship between a truster and a trustee. Truster is a person who trusts a certain entity, whereas trustee is the trusted entity. Based on the trust in the trustee, a truster can decide whether the trustee should be allowed to access resources and what rights should be granted. Therefore, trust plays an important role in deciding both the access rights as well as provenance of information. Trust management involves using the trust information, including recommendations from other trustees. There are different models of trust. These are direct trust, hierarchical trust, web of trust. Direct trust. In a direct trust model, parties know each other. A user trusts that a key or certificate is valid because he or she knows where it came from. Hierarchical trust. In a hierarchical system, there are a number of root certificates from which trust extends. This is like the holding company establishing a trust, and then member companies use this trust and key certificate. These root certificates may certify certificates themselves, or they may certify certificates that certify still other certificates down the chain. This model of trust is used by conventional CA. Web of trust. A web of trust encompasses both of the above models. A certificate might be trusted directly or trusted in some chain going back to a directly trusted root certificate or by some group of introducers. The web of trust uses digital signatures as its form of introduction. When any user signs another's key, he or she becomes an introducer of that key. As this process goes on, it establishes a web of trust. PGP, Pretty Good Privacy, uses this model of trust. PGP does not use the CA in its conventional sense. Any PGP user can validate another PGP user's public key certificate. However, such a certificate is only valid to another user if the relying party recognizes the validator as a trusted introducer. Certificate. Digital certificate plays a significant role in establishing trust. Through a digital certificate, we can associate a name with a public key. Certificate is a signed instrument vouching that a particular name is associated with a particular public key. It is a mapping between a domain name like mybank.co.in, for example, and a public key. The structure of certificates is hierarchical, originating from a trusted root certificate. For example, the Root Certification Authority in India is called Controller of Certification Authority, CCA. CCA is responsible for generating the key pair using SHA-1 and 2048-bit RSA algorithm. CCA issues these certificates to users through different RAs, Registration Authority. An RA is an organization to which a CA delegates administrative functions of creation, distribution, and bookkeeping of the public-private key pair. Simple PKI. IETF developed another standard called Simple PKI or SPKI, RFC 2692, RFC 2693 in short. SPKI defined a different form of digital certificates whose main purpose is authorization in addition to authentication. Purpose of SPKI is to define a certificate structure and operating procedure for trust management in the Internet. Conclusion. In this chapter, we have covered the following in detail: information security, techniques and algorithms, protocols, trust, security models and frameworks.